Shalom. I just need to know which button. There we go. One more. I think. There we go. Okay. Got to get that PowerPoint working. Shalom. And thank you to Daniel Wilansky for teaching me my thank yous, my excuse me's. He's been my guide for the last few days. Gaudi, thank you very much for the very nice introduction and giving people a little bit of an idea who I am. I'm really honored and grateful to be here with all the other panelists, and I just had said a prayer that I would not speak after Dr. Ruth. But I was glad to know that we are both talking about family, because when I looked at the theme, and one of the questions, how do I stop this from going? Is there any way that I can stop it? It's just going. Okay, well then you can just watch my pictures and I'll keep talking, because I'll refer to them and you'll see them. But one of the questions said, how can we be better prepared to face the world's challenges? And I thought the common thread for all of us is family. And what I do is write about the women in my family and use their story to try to talk about people who essentially had been disenfranchised in American history. American history books, when I was growing up, did not write about women and did not write about people of color. So it is as if we did not exist. Now what do I do with it? Oh, it's just going to keep going. Okay, good. But anyway, at what better place than Jerusalem to talk about and to contemplate the history of families and of civilization. Daniel Wilansky, as I said, has been my guide for the last few days. He's a student at Hebrew University of, not New York, Jerusalem. And he is a person who talked to me about his family. His maternal grandparents immigrated to Israel. His father grew up in New York and immigrated to Israel. And he is a person who loves Jerusalem. He's among a young group of people here, New Spirit, who are trying to encourage others to love Jerusalem and to promote it. He's introduced me to his friends as we've traveled around the city for the last couple of days. Nissan Yaron, who's here. Nissan, raise your hand. Nissan is working on a film about his father. And since I only have a few minutes to talk, I can't tell you, but please talk to him about this amazing film of discovery about his father and about his grandfather. He's also introduced me to Freddie and Schrader, whose father, I think, was my classmate at Harvard. How is that for one degree of separation when you come halfway around the world? Yesterday, we went on a tour of the tunnels adjacent to the Western Wall. And I thought, what an amazing metaphor for me when I'm talking about family. What I do is excavate the stories of the women in my family and try to retell American history in a way that I wish it had been written for me, to try to talk about all the contributions and the sacrifices of all Americans. And I think this following family history, learning about family history, really empowers all of us. Today we were in City Hall, and there's something called Families and Generations, where City Hall, the mayor's office, is going to record the birth of every child in Jerusalem. So I know that this idea of family is very strong here. So I'm going to take you through the PowerPoint. If we can get it back to, okay, maybe this will happen. Maybe this will happen in the way that I want it to. So my great-great-grandmother, Madam C.J. Walker, as Gaudi said, was an entrepreneur and a philanthropist and an activist. She was born Sarah Breedlove in 1867 on the same plantation that hit the right time, where her parents had been slaves. And she developed a hair care product. You can see the before and after. But for the first 38 years of her life, she was a poor washerwoman. She was uneducated. She discovered a hair care product. So all of you know about women who've developed hair care products, Helena Rubinstein, Elizabeth Arden. The same time frame, the same kind of idea, the same spirit. And she became a millionaire. Now, this is amazing, obviously, for a woman and for an African-American woman in the early 20th century to do this. And you can see this personal transformation as these slides go by. But to me, being a millionaire is wonderful, it's amazing, but it's not the most important thing. The legacy that she really left is a legacy of a woman who used her wealth and who used her influence to make a difference in the lives of others. She employed thousands of African American women who otherwise would have been maids and sharecroppers and washerwomen like she was. And they were able to educate their children, send them to school, buy homes, invest in real estate, contribute to their communities as well. So when she died in 1919, in her mansion that she had built in Westchester County, and I know a lot of you are familiar with New York, her mansion in Westchester County, which still stands, which is a National Historic Landmark, she had really made a difference in the world. She told the women at her convention, all of you have heard of Mary Kay. In 1917, the year before Mary Kay was born, Madam C.J. Walker held her first convention of her sales agents. And at that convention, she congratulated the women on the successes they'd had, women who said they had not been able to, they had been working as maids, had been making $1.50 a day, and now they said they were making 10 times as much. They didn't have to work for someone else. And she said to the women at the convention, I want you to understand that as Walker agents, your first duty is to humanity. I want others to look at us and realize that we care not just about ourselves, but about others. At the end of the convention, the women sent a telegram to President Woodrow Wilson to urge him to support legislation to make lynching a federal crime. So this is a woman who, long before political pacts, had this idea of women banding together and using their influence to make a difference in the world. She often said that people asked her the secret to her success, and she would tell them there is no royal, flower-strewn path to success. And if there is, I have not found it. For whatever success I have attained has been the result of much hard work and many sleepless nights. I got my start by giving myself a start. So don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. You have to get up and make them for yourself. I know there are many in this audience who absolutely understand what I'm saying about making opportunities, who've moved here or who have grandchildren who they're watching grow up, who are giving this idea of leaving a legacy. And to me, that is what empowers us, knowing our family stories. Knowing our family stories and thinking about what we're going to do, understanding who we are, it gives our lives purpose. It gives us a sense of self. And so, like Daniel and his friends, Nissan and Freddie, with whom I've spent time over the last few days, I know the power of honoring family and of relationships. Even in this age of Skype, many of you were at the forum the other night, the afternoon, with the CEOs of Skype and the other companies, and it all got down to grandparents, being able to communicate with grandparents. So even in this age of internet and Skype, being connected across generations is what keeps us together. Toda Rabba.